New details tonight out of Moscow, Idaho, where police continue the search into who killed 4 University of Idaho students on November 13th. Investigators now say they identified an incident involving one of the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, at a local business, which may have explained a reference to a stalker she made to friends and family. According to police, in mid-October, 2 males were seen inside a local business. They parted ways, and one male appeared to follow Kaylee inside the business. And as she exited to walk towards her car, the guy turned away, and it did not appear he made any contact with her. Detectives actually contacted both the guys and learned that the two were apparently attempting to just pick up women. Now, police have said there's no evidence the men took part in the murders. Police also saying tonight that a dog was found belonging to Kaylee in the home by officers, but that it had not been found in a room where the crimes had been committed. No evidence was found on the dog, and there is no indication it even entered the crime scene. Police are really trying to identify why any of the 4 would have potentially have been targets. Joining me now from Moscow, Idaho, NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Entin. Brian, good to see you. You also have some reporting on what is a very important detail about Kaylee's injuries as they compared to her best friend's who was in the same bed with her. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Dan, we've learned that Kaylee's injuries were significantly more brutal. That is the way it was described to me than her best friend Maddie's injuries. They were together in Maddie's room up on the 3rd floor of the house behind me. Why is this important? Well, it could possibly be important in the sense of who was targeted in this event. Was Kaylee the target? Is that why her injuries were more brutal? Was she possibly trying to protect her best friend? Obviously, those are things that police are looking into behind the scenes.
All right, so tell us more. You know anything else about this stalker situation? This is something a lot of people were talking about. Again, trying to figure out who may have been the target of the 4, if there was someone. Anything else we know about it?
So there was a little bit of a miscommunication. Initially last week, it was reported that Kaylee's family said there was a stalker. I sat down with them Friday night, and they were very clear. They do not know of a specific stalker. Kaylee never told them of a specific stalker. They said that, you know, is it possible someone was following her around? Yes, it's possible, but they didn't know of anything specific.
Anything else from what we learned today that you think we need to know?
Yeah, what you said about the dog is interesting. A lot of people have been interested in this Golden Doodle Murphy. Is it possible that he was in the room, that he had evidence on him because he immediately went to the Humane Society? People were concerned that he might not have been tested. Now we learned today that he was not in the crimes, in the part of the house where the crimes were committed, according to the police.
All right, Brian, as always, thank you. Let's bring in NewsNation's Ashleigh Banfield, who's also obviously been covering this story, and will spend the entire hour on it on her show tonight. Ashleigh, once again, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. All right, with this information that Brian has learned about Kaylee's injuries being more severe than the other victim, who apparently, I think, was lying in the same bed with her, what do you make of it?
I find it really fascinating that Kaylee's injuries are worse than Maddie's, which might make some maybe think that she had been the target. But she was found in Maddie's room. So if the killer was coming in to get Kaylee, he did this in Maddie's room. And you've seen the pictures of these girls, Dan. They are beautiful, blonde. They look very similar in the daylight. Now turn out the lights and, you know, put them in a bed, and it would be very, very difficult to tell them apart just from a practical matter. So it just complicates this story, I think, from a profiling, you know, perspective. And it also complicates why 2 other people would need to die. It's just... Right. When you think you have an answer, suddenly you have a lot more questions.
All right, I want to play you a piece of sound from Christy Gonzalez, Kaylee's mom, on the suspects. Then I want your thoughts on this.
I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not. Maybe he shouldn't have been. And yeah.
She had the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can
like,
dismiss...
You know, an hour later, and we're like, what?
That was in the interview with Brian. You know, the mom frustrated by the police clearing people very quickly. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, within the first week, there were so many people being cleared, all while we were waiting for maybe a person of interest that never came. But every person that had been raised in this story was cleared lightning fast. And one of them was a very suspicious character that was spotted on camera at the food truck. And the reason he was suspicious is because he was lingering. He wasn't there to buy food, didn't appear that he bought any. He stood behind the girls while they were paying and ordering. And then he even moved the 10 to 15 feet when they shuffled 10 to 15 feet and waited 10 more minutes to get their food, all the while watching them, but not doing anything else. And then as soon as those girls turned to leave, he was right on their tail leaving as well. So, you know, that raised a lot of suspicion, Dan. And then to have him cleared so quickly, Kayleigh's father is very upset because he's hearing that that person did not give DNA and also may be out of the country by this point. So these are things that I think as a family you would be very upset by, certainly in the absence of any other solid information coming their way.
Yeah, we just saw the crime scene tape is still up after 3 weeks, apparently still collecting evidence. Ashleigh Banfield, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.